Okay, so we are watching the Disneyfication of Warcraft. I, as someone that played World of Warcraft for almost 20 years, I think this is exactly the video that's for me. Because damn, Warcraft was so cool back in the day, and then it was made totally gay. Totally gay. So let's hear what Pretty Lady has to say about it.
One of the most tragic victims of the modern gaming industry that brutally mishandles legendary IPs and turns them into shadows of their former selves.
Is she talking about Activision or Blizzard?
World of Warcraft is one of the most tragic victims of the modern gaming industry that brutally mishandles legendary IPs and turns them into shadows of their former selves.
Well, to be fair, they aren't mishandling them. They are destroying them on purpose because they are communists, aka Bolshevists, aka globalists, that want to destroy culture and replace it with their non-culture. There. That's what's going on.
A textbook example of you either die a hero or live long enough to see yourself become the villain. In its foundations, Warcraft established a certain look or aesthetic for itself that made it really stand out in a sea of other titles in the fantasy genre. Most notably, despite their clear influences from other games, the races of Warcraft had their own flair about them that you could only find in Warcraft or WoW. However, over the years, we have seen a devastating shift in tone, writing, and art direction that have turned WoW from this vast, gritty fantasy that did have a bit of whimsy here and there to a full-on Disney-fied version of its former self. Today, I want to talk a bit about how WoW lost its uniquely Warcraft identity, focusing mainly on art and aesthetics, and just have a bit of an honest discussion on what exactly went wrong and why it matters in the context of a changing, out-of-touch industry that has plunged many legendary franchises into an identity and aesthetic crisis. Before we get started,
I have to disagree. I mean, sure, some of the industry is out of touch, but it's mostly what I said before. It's just communists that want to destroy society. That's literally it. That's just all that there is to it.
Hi, my name is Angelica, and this is a video that I have been building up to for a while. It isn't a new discussion, but it's really important to me as somebody who grew up with Warcraft, and I am probably the way that I am because of it. Now, previously on this channel, we have had several in-depth discussion on the races of Warcraft and certain aesthetic and tone shifts that have fundamentally changed how they were even from Warcraft 3 to Vanilla WoW, or even some things that have straight up ruined everything that was unique about a particular race. It hits hardest with the Night Elves, as we have seen, where they went from these savage men and women who fought with a brutality that even the orcs couldn't believe to, please don't hurt my twee. You can check this video out if you want to hear about it in more detail, but for me this has sparked a wider discussion on where exactly WoW lost this brutal Warcraft essence and how did we get to these Disney vibes.
Oh, I'm so sorry for this. I'm so sorry. So when did we lose it? When all the old guard left and the new people came in. That's when we left. When that happened. There. Explained it.
Warcraft essence and how did we get to these Disney vibes? Honestly, you don't really have to do any in-depth analysis to see that there is a massive difference between even these images here, as if they—
Yes. This guy looks strong and, you know, burly, manly, and this guy kind of not. I mean, he looks also angry because of, you know, and he doesn't have that.
Come from totally different universes. Everyone looks so
Yeah. This was at least somewhat, you know, kind of, you know, strong, but this is just gay. This is just gay.
Kind. Even the rougher options for faces look so soft and clean. It's missing that
New, old. Oh yeah, that's... Oh yeah, the difference. Oh boy. The difference is massive.
bit of spice that we saw with older models. And this bubbly, well-rounded and smooth kind of look really goes for how the rest of the world looks as well. Some people suggest that this is just the natural way that it progressed with these newer models, but I would argue that it definitely could have taken a different way if they wanted it to. Just look at these unused human models and how much they resemble their Warcraft 3 selves. There was already a shift in tone from the start of vanilla World of Warcraft, but at that point it wasn't anything too...
Yes, but the shift was simply because you could add more detail because of the advancement in graphics. I think that was fundamentally the only thing that happened.
Egregious, even though it would have been nice to see them explore this particular look for humans. A more intimidating, sharper look, and something that made them stand out from humans in other fantasy games. Warcraft 3 was a defining game for the overall look that made WoW so great. They established a very interesting balance between the masculine and the feminine that worked in...
Oh. Yes, absolutely. I mean, look at her. You look at her and you know she's badass. On top of being super attractive, right? And then look at, well, the new models. The textures are better, but that's all that there is. There's more detail on them, but that's all. But this just looks cool. Oh Jesus, my speaking today. Man, my brain is kind of fried. It's all her fault. Sorry. All her fault.
Harmony to amplify one another. By this, I mean it tapped into the side of fantasy that is effortlessly, universally appealing. Strong, believable characters, flawed, but each with their own personalities and their own motivation.
Yes, but people aren't allowed to have flaws anymore. Which is funny, because if you look at the people that want flawless characters, those people are mostly pieces of shit. You know? These people are unlikable people that no one wants to be around.
When it comes to the greater fight for the good of their own race or whatever cause they support. A very mature approach that gave a lot of room for growth and a future for Warcraft. It reminds me of how The Lord of the Rings, particularly the movies, are so appealing to literally everyone. They never needed to.
And to everyone, we mean everyone in the world. Because no matter where you are in the world, you can understand, good and evil fighting against each other. That's something very fundamental. That's why, The Lord of the Rings is so successful.
Overcompensate in a way that a lot of modern games and fantasy in general tends to do nowadays. For example, did you know that in total, if you take all of the main female characters and put their screen time together, you don't even get a full hour? And despite this, The Lord of the Rings has a massive female fan.
Yes, because if they are on screen, they aren't pathetic. Unlike, in modern media, a lot of the women are pathetic. They being shown as strong and all that stuff, but at the end they are basically just pathetic. And they aren't. These are all strong women. But they haven't lost their womanhood. Which modern female characters, they don't have any womanhood. It's literally, they just take a dude, they just write a dude these days and, oh, now he has tits. That's what they do. And I'm not the first one saying that. I think I have that from Asmongold or someone else. And it's true. And the thing is, everyone likes these characters. And it's not an, oh, I want to bang them. But everyone likes these characters because they're good characters. That's the important thing, being a good character. It doesn't be, by the way, it doesn't matter if you're a good guy or a bad guy. Is the character design good? Is it a good character? That's the important thing. And that's what's lacking in modern media so much, because the characters are just trash. They're just trash. No one cares. No one wants to identify with them. I can tell you, a lot of women like these characters, if they like them, because they want to be like them. Just like we men want to be like Aragorn, Frodo, Samwise, Boromir, Faramir, Gandalf. We want to be these heroic people that fight for good and sacrificing ourselves for the greater good. That's why this works. That's why in WarCraft 3 I liked Thrall the most. Was my absolute favorite character. And I liked playing the orcs way more than anyone else. I identified with Thrall the most and with the orcs, which is kind of funny.
Base. Then we can look at the Rings of Power and how they massacred Galadriel's character to where she's no longer a strong, wise elf, but an insufferable girl boss who behaves like those main characters from the Disney shows. Everything feels over-exaggerated, overplayed, and unnatural. WarCraft had a place for everybody, not because they had to fit someone in to meet a quota, but because the world naturally formed in this way. In the RTS, for example, the Night Elves, despite being such a wild and brutal race, are actually a matriarchal society, and little things like even the in-game callouts are done with a female voice, as opposed to the other races that have male voice callouts. Modern WoW has a lot of flaws when—
I don't even remember that. Are Night Elves a matriarchy? I don't remember that at all. That's actually new to me.
When it comes to writing, but particularly female characters feel so forced, unnatural, and like their motivation doesn't come from a genuine place, but instead it's all just sort of performative. Sylvana—
Because, well, that's easy to explain, because the behavior of the writers is performative. The entire character of the writers is performative. So of course they write characters that are just performative.
Went from the tragic survivor of the Lich King, the powerful Banshee Queen that unified the Forsaken, to a cartoony villain. The rest of the writing across the world, coupled with the cadence with which female characters speak, is just— it's Disney.
Is that Odin's Wall? Yes. Then the stories and legends I read as a child were true.
This is an infamous example.
Yes, that feels so much like when I heard her speaking, I just was thinking about Frozen. And yes, I have watched that movie. It's actually good. But yeah, the only thing I could think about was, oh yeah, Frozen.
The way that it looks like a poorly made machinima from the early days, and to be fair, even those looked better.
Yes.
Dinath fought to save all of Azeroth. He sold us out so the Alliance and Horde could wage war in Khazalgar.
This is so bad.
Never understand.
But it's that overplayed style of narration that is used to tell you about history that is somehow relevant to the plot. The shades that she's wearing are also kind of throwing me off. We get two supposedly strong female characters here, but their dialogue is so poorly written, and it's delivered in such a strange way that I can't help but just cringe at it. There was talk about this sort of thing happening a lot, not—
Dude. Looking at this, literally in-game cutscenes in WarCraft 3 looked better. And it's not even close. That's a problem. How can this from 2025 look worse than WarCraft 3? That should be illegal.
Kind of throwing me off. We get two supposedly strong female characters here, but their dialogue is so poorly written and it's delivered in such a strange way that I can't help but just cringe at it. There was talk about this sort of thing happening a lot, not just in WoW, but in other games in general, in an attempt to make games more appealing to women. This is the industry's idea of what is supposed to be appealing to women. A corporate-brained group of people.
Well, to be fair, they don't know what a woman is because, you know, just ask them what is a woman. They can tell you. So of course they can't write characters that appeal to women because they are too stupid.
People that never really had interest in video games to begin with came up with this. An out-of-touch entity that has all of the power, but none of the creativity to bring WarCraft back to its former glory. Why is it that in order to appeal to female gamers, we need to infantilize the dialogue and the writing to Disney levels? Things like this are straight up insulting to everybody's—
Because they think that women are stupid. Which, to be fair, I also think. But for different reasons.
Intelligence. I wonder how it passed quality checks. Is there nobody there that listens back to this and says, hey, maybe this is a little bit silly? This is—
No, because they all have the same politics. So they can't do that or they get in trouble with HR.
A little side note that goes beyond World of Warcraft and shows you just how much the industry does not take female characters or female gamers seriously, and how much they misunderstand us. A recent example is God of War Laufey, which is such an unfortunate thing for me because a game along the lines of Heavenly Sword or a God of War game with a female protagonist does sound like it's something that would appeal to me, like I would be the target audience for that kind of game. But when I watched the showcase and heard little bits of her dialogue and what she was saying, I felt confused.
Okay, I think they're gone. Just be careful.
Where are we anyway?
Afterlife of the gods? I call it the everyone. So, what's the plan, boss?
Not your boss, Frank.
Why does she have to be—
Why is the cube called Frank? I don't know why that is ticking me off so much despite everything else. But yeah, that is kind of ticking me off.
so quirky, and why are we so afraid of or embarrassed by a true fantasy setting where people speak and act like they would in a serious, mature fantasy setting? Why is that?
Because people writing this aren't mature. They are mentally stunned in the age of, I don't know, 14. That's why.
There a gelatinous cube named Frank? Where in Greek mythology did we have something like this? The creation of these cartoony girl bosses or quirk chunguses show that they don't really understand what made other fantasy titles so popular with female gamers.
Because they're stupid. That's why they don't understand it. They don't understand that people, which includes women, who could have guessed, like strong characters that don't lose themselves, aka woman still being woman and man being man.
Look at things like Skyrim or even Elden Ring as like a really small example. They are games that are just completely themselves. Every character fits naturally into their setting. There is no unnecessary comic relief to make female characters more relatable or less awkward, and there's no Disney-style over-narration of events to make sure that girls will understand what's going on. Those games are just good, and that is why everybody likes them. You don't have to overcompensate at every turn with cute and whimsical characters to get girls to play your game. I'm gonna say something and—
Because they won't. That doesn't bring women in. Things that have to be cool. Guess what? Women like things that are cool too. The thing is, women that actually play video games are a different type of woman that don't. You will never get a woman that doesn't play video games to play a game like a dark fantasy game. That will not happen. That will just not happen. You have to have a certain character. You know, a person needs to have a certain character to be interested in those games to begin with, or games to begin with. It's good for 12-year-olds, you guess. Yeah. They might be dumb enough to like it, yeah.
And it's that performative male feminism has majorly contributed to the industry's skewed and out-of-touch view of female gamers. When this sort of thing receives any bit of criticism, you'll have the white knights come out and say, oh, weak men, fragile masculinity, you hate women if you don't like this sort of thing. Okay, if you take actual incels out of the equation, which nobody really takes them seriously, the truth is that a female protagonist isn't the problem. If that were the case, so many massive franchises...
It just... Having a woman as a main character of a franchise has never be a problem. Badly written ones that are also ugly and the character is unlikable. These are the problems. For example, everyone likes Lara Croft. Everyone likes basically all the female characters in Resident Evil. Everyone likes B2. Why? Because the characters are interesting. And they're attractive. And they are strong. Yeah. But what are they not? Masculine. They're all strong. They're all good characters. They keep their femininity. And if you look at, you know, and there's nothing feminists and Western game developers hate more than femininity, with exception of men. But yeah, they hate femininity because they think femininity is a weak thing, it's not. It's not. When I look at a feminine woman, I don't think that she's weak. I think she's beautiful. When I look at a masculine woman, I don't think that, oh, she's strong, because she isn't. She's just as strong as the feminine woman, which means they're both weaker than I am, because they are women. But when I look at a masculine woman, I can tell if she's annoying just by how she looks. And we all know what I mean here, right? We all know, go outside and we see these masculine looking women. And we all know, yeah, that's a cunt. We all know that. We all. And that's why so many games with female characters flop. The characters aren't likable and the games aren't good. There. These are the reasons. No one cares that, oh, there's a woman in it. No one. In actuality, people want that. Especially men. Especially men. Why the hell do you think the majority of the players of Tomb Raider are men? Oh my god. I can play a super attractive woman that shoots bad guys and is on an adventure. Oh my god, that's horrible. No one ever said that. No. That's the exact reasons why Tomb Raider is so successful. Because the dudes look at that and we go, yep. Yep. I want exactly that. Exactly that. And of course we want to fuck her. Yeah. Let's be honest. When it comes to Tomb Raider, we dudes want to fuck her, the woman want to be her. just with Leon here. We dudes want to be Leon, the woman want to get fucked by him. That's how it is.
Wouldn't have even been half as successful as they are. The problem is with modern developers that will take a legendary, well-established IP and use it as leverage to sell their own games with mediocre writing. Let's be honest, nobody would buy this if it didn't have the World of Warcraft label on it. We should not be focusing on the extremes that deflect from valid criticisms and concerns when it comes to things like this. Nobody who's normal has any real problem with a female game protagonist, but we also shouldn't reward mediocrity just because the protagonist is a woman. Performative male feminism has been incredibly damaging to so many studios, including Blizzard, who did have a lot of skeletons in the closet of their own in real life, but they thought that it would be reasonable to turn women into fruit as compensation. Yeah. I've asked this before, and I will ask this again.
Which is retarded. By the way, all the allegations against Blizzard, you know, all the sex stuff, well, apparently nothing of them was actually ever happened. You know, the breast milk drinking never happened. Never happened. I just saw a video about that. I think I even reacted to it last stream, or the stream before. And yeah, that never happened. Never happened. Who could have guessed? It apparently was just people in the company that wanted to destroy the company, bring more of their communist friends into the company, lied about that, and then, you know, things happened. Yeah.
And what message does this send about women's bodies, especially in a mature fantasy setting? It's hardly a children's game, if we're honest. I mean, most of the people that are playing World of Warcraft, at the least, would be in their mid-20s, but I'd say the average is like 30s, 40s, and above. And this is just part of the overall problem, but going back to modern or retail WoW, when the harmonious masculine and feminine elements of the game were neglected, toned down, and stripped back for a more family-friendly version of the game or something that would appeal to more people, it resulted in a kind of a theme park look or feel for the game. You tried to make something that...
Yeah, it's so ugly. I have the perfect analogy here. Retail WoW looks like a WoW clone. You remember WoW clones from back in the day when a game came out that kind of tried to copy World of Warcraft, but it looked different, kind of cheap and stuff, a cheap copy of World of Warcraft. That's how retail WoW looks like. A cheap copy of World of Warcraft.
Appeals to everybody, it then appeals to nobody. There is the added issue of too many things going on at once. There are too many races, there are too many flashy mounts and toys, too many shop items, and it all creates visual noise. Yes. This is the backdrop, but in the foreground, the way that the characters are animated, how they move, how they run, cast spells, etc., is so overdone, and for me it plays like some cartoon
What do you mean overdone?
Or something that isn't really that serious. I think it's important to note just how impactful this change is. We went from these more grounded and down-to-earth animations.
When I look at this, I feel nostalgia, and I want to play the game. When everything that I've seen before, you know, before we went to here, I was like, yeah, this is shit. I was literally, you know, I felt like that was there to make me feel sick. And it worked. But seeing this, oh my god, immediately, yep, this is nice. This is nice. You know, this is a chill evening on a weekend playing. But the other thing was like, oh my god, no. I have to grind 10 daily quests, world quests, and 5 dungeons, or I get behind until the next patch, where all the progress I have done until then is worthless.
to the more over-the-top variety that perhaps because of what I'm used to feels very unnatural and frantic. Recently, WarCraft did a video about why WoW isn't immersive anymore. Just on that conversation, a lot of these new locations with the latest expansions for me are a little hard to appreciate with just how much is going on. It's not that these places aren't beautiful. There is a certain charm there, but I think that World of Warcraft is a game that greatly benefits from minimalism where possible in terms of world design. It is so much...
I agree with that. I absolutely agree with that. Now, what do I mean? For example, every zone has its own theme, and they don't put more stuff into it that would overload the theme. I think that's a good explanation.
Easier to get immersed in a simple, dark forest where the environment is made up of limited but effective components that get across how you're supposed to feel about this place and what it represents, as opposed to these massive, overblown, overly detailed locations where your eyes kind of don't know what to focus on in order to properly appreciate the setting. It's kind of a shame for the better designed parts of the game also, because this just completely clashes with it and takes away from any good art that's created in modern World of Warcraft. Just completely overshadowed by silliness and a general lack of direction.
Oh yeah.
I think that the true Disneyfication started with Draenor when they had the catastrophic change in character models that all but wiped the core identities of many of the races of Azeroth. But as time went on, I think that...
Why? I think you guys know what I mean when I say why. Why is that there? Pointing at her face.
The Disney element was melded together with a Fortnite element. Fortnite was a massive and game-changing influence.
Yeah, the Fortnite-fication of graphics is, I think, a huge problem. Don't get me wrong, I like the graphics of Fortnite, but why does every game has to try and kind of look like Fortnite?
All across the industry, especially with their specific approach to monetization. What started out with a simple skin shop and then turned into the battle pass where you could additionally earn currency, later grew into something that featured all kinds of things, including celebrity cameos, TV show cameos, cameos from other games. So when you go into a Fortnite lobby, everyone is just some different looking thing.
Yes. And with all that, we have to keep in mind, they made $42 billion and still have lost money. Congratulations on a failed game that made $42 million, $1 billion. Imagine that. You make $42 billion of a game and it's not making a profit. How incompetent do you have to be to make that? How bloated must your company be? Well, that's also why they fired a bunch of people.
There's no rhyme or reason, no harmony, but for a game like Fortnite, this is fine. It's a battle royale. You're in, you're out. It's not that deep. I don't think anybody really cares about Fortnite lore or keeps up with it unless they're like...
There is no lore. Or is there? I think there is no lore.
6 or 7 years old. And to me, that's what a lot of World of Warcraft looks like now. I think transmog was a good idea at its conception, but also with all of the quirky cosmetics and things that...
Yes. This is a problem. This is why this game is so... Yeah, how about no? How about no?
Don't really fit Warcraft in its original sense. Cities and hubs can now look a little bit like a Fortnite lobby, just with all of the flashy mounts, new races, and everything else in between. I think Dragonflight was the next major Disney-esque blow to Warcraft, something that really pushed it over the edge into a more immature fantasy setting.
Yeah.
People often misunderstand why there is still such a great appreciation for Warcraft in its earliest iterations, or World of Warcraft from vanilla to about Wrath. But it was just that no matter where you went, even if people were wearing mismatched gear, as you do while you're leveling, you looked like you belonged in this world. Old World of Warcraft.
Which is a huge problem with modern WoW, because people run around in outfits that, yeah, you don't belong here. It's like you're coming from a completely different game. Which is a problem. You just like, imagine Elden Ring multiplayer. You know, there's multiplayer, and there's now a dude approaching you that looks like he's coming out of Cyberpunk 2077. How about now?
Warcraft is so loved by that side of the community because it's a game that has more than just gameplay going for it. You have gameplay at the center of everything, of course. But beside that, you have lore.
Yes.
Compelling storytelling, a sense of scale when it comes to the world, adventure, a unique identity and aesthetic, and of course the overall added bonus of nostalgia. You really cannot compete with nostalgia.
Of course, yeah, nostalgia is a huge thing. And here's a thing that I want to bring up, not for the first time. If you would take vanilla WoW and would make it a single-player game, the game would still work. It would still work because the leveling was part of the game, of the main game. Modern WoW, you can't, because the experience is that bad. Number one, you're rushing through everything. Number two, the scaling makes leveling basically a pain in the ass. And that's fundamentally it. Leveling in retail WoW is just trash. It's just trash. While original WoW, you could make a single player game out of it and it would be fine. It would be completely fine. Now you can't do, allied quests alone, but, yeah, there's mercenaries. Or a different character that you have leveled helps you, things like that. And all things that existed before. I'm not talking about anything new here.
For retail WoW, it feels like you just have gameplay. Because the only good things I ever hear about retail WoW is only ever just related to gameplay. I know a lot of classic versus retail discourse is around the difficulty level of the game. Some classic players say retail is too easy, and retail players argue that it's not. And to be fair, I actually can believe that retail WoW would be quite a bit more difficult. Early WoW...
It is. It is a lot more difficult because the content is, just like Asmongold said, around the use of add-ons. That's literally it. And back in the day, they didn't know what they were doing with, how to make encounters. I mean, for God's sake, the Molten Core was built in 1 weekend. I mean, that says it all, right?
Was pretty simple if you think about it, and unless you're playing hardcore, it's not really that hard to get through the game. It takes a longer time, sure, and I think maybe certain parts of the game are harder than they would be in retail, but overall, when it comes to even the end game, I do think retail probably does have more challenging elements to it. I have been told that I only dislike retail WoW because I'm just not good enough to play it, and here's what I'll tell you. I just don't even have an incentive to try. I don't want to try to be...
Why would you? It's just not fun. Why would I play retail WoW if I could play anything else? Why? Just why? I could literally sit down, play a different game for 3 hours and have a blast. Or I can play retail WoW and I hate myself the entire time. So why would I do that?
Good at it. It just doesn't look like the kind of game that I want to play. A lot of it's just too smooth and polished, and it really feels disconnected from its roots. And to me, those are the things that are important. And in talking about this and in making videos like this, I have found an entire community of players like me that find value in the exact same things, and for the exact same reasons they cannot or they do not play retail WoW. I don't know what's going on in the lore anymore, and you know what? Nobody does. This was
Yeah.
a major discussion in the community recently. Nobody has any idea what's going on. They've written themselves into a corner. We're probably gonna get like a ton of retcons or time travel or something, just like Mortal Kombat. The best thing—
Oh, no, please, not time travel. I mean, why am I complaining? I'm not into the game anymore. So why would I complain, right? Because I still love the world. That's why. There's still love for the world inside of me. And that's why I get annoyed. And yes, I hate time travel. I don't want anything to do with time travel. Time travel stories are shit. There's no way you can... Okay, to be fair, I have a box of Back to the Future standing over there. But those movies are good. They are fun. They aren't complicated. But then you have time travel movies where you're, oh my god, no, just no, please no, man. Every second Star Trek episode is time travel. So yeah, I've seen enough time travel in my lifetime. I don't need that shit.
that they've done recently seems to be housing. Everybody loved housing, and I'll be honest, I look at it and based on the kind of games that I play, I would probably interact with this and enjoy.
Yes, housing would most likely be the number one thing I do if I would play the game. And that's literally it. That and yeah, this.
It quite a lot myself, but it's just still not enough of an incentive for me to want to come back to the game overall. There is such an unfortunate stigma around people who prefer classic WoW literally just for the way it looks. Do you know how many times I have been called a chud gamer for talking about this? What do you want me to say? The chuds yearn for storytelling.
Yes, the reason why this looks better is because it has less detail. You have to have more... How to explain it? I mean, there's of course a lot of nostalgia here, right? There is. It's just a fact. But this all looks grounded. While the stuff in Retail WoW doesn't. This is made to be cool. Retail, so they can sell you skins.
I yearn for lore, for gritty, dark fantasy with some whimsy here and there. A simpler time when the game didn't feel so confusing and silly. But let me tell you something right now, I have the solution. No, it is not to play Classic WoW. Those servers have a bunch of issues. We'll wait for Classic Plus. I'll keep my mind open. The solution, ladies and gentlemen, is to reject corporate slop and embrace tradition. If you are watching this video, then I am telling you right now to go and install WarCraft 3 Reforged and go back to playing a real game. Not...
What? Reforged? No. I have original WarCraft 3 here. I do that.
Just the campaign, but really play WarCraft 3 PvP. Go watch a Grubby video, go watch Happy play in a tournament, go learn a build order, and just get in the game. It has to be reforged, so we cannot escape all of the corporate slop, but you can toggle classic graphics and immerse yourself in a real, brutal, gritty Warcraft as God intended. Oh.
Or you sell the 7 Seas.
But you like decorating your house in Retail World of Warcraft? Go build a base. Like a man. Or a woman. Some burrows or a ziggurat. Whatever you're into. Go play a real game that still holds true to the roots of one of the greatest game franchises of all time. And then 1v1 me on the ladder, if you aren't chicken. But on a serious note, I maintain that everybody should be able to just play whatever they want, even if it is Retail WoW. There's clearly still an audience for it. And even that audience, by the way, already has a lot to say about the writing and various other issues with the game. But in keeping with our previous discussions around the aesthetics of Warcraft and just the overall legendary vibes that we got from it that just weren't recreated anywhere else ever, this was an important video for me to make.
Yes.
And that's why I made it. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this little rant on the Disneyfication of Warcraft. If you did, please be sure to leave a like and subscribe. I really appreciate it. As always, huge shout out to my channel members. Thank you guys so much. And I'll see you all in the next video. Be seeing you. Bye.
Oh, such a good video. Such a... Man... I made Night Elf in my first character that I leveled to 60 in vanilla. Okay. Yeah. I'm gonna send you the link. Give it a like. Give the video a like because video good. Video good. Good like. Okay. And with that, we are at the end of this video. Let me know in the comments. Do you agree or disagree with the video and me? Let me know. And if you want to see more of this, subscribe. See you next time. Bye bye.